And our special guest tonight is a social media expert. Her name is Cece Dadsman.
I'll let CC take over from here. So this is going to be mostly, I'd say CC is the social media expert here. So she's going to be teaching most of this webinar, and then I'll probably show you all a little demo on how to generate social media content using AI tools, ChatGPT, later on in our slide here.
Okay. Thanks so much, John. Thanks for inviting me today. My name is Cece, and I am a marketer, communications specialist. I've been in the field for about 20 years, and I have been doing social media for almost all of that. Even back in the days of MySpace, I started doing social media for professional purposes. So I've been doing this a long time, and I'm so happy to be here tonight with you and talk with you a little bit about how to use paid social media to drive your business goals, to get new customers, engage existing customers, and increase engagement on social media. So before we get started, just a couple notes about the format for tonight. So the first part of the session is going to be some foundational principles, some framework for running social media campaigns that is going to be really important, whether you're running organic or paid. Then we're going to take a little bit of a break. This is a 2-hour session. I like to take a break in the middle. Sometimes it's a lot if you need a bio break, if you need to get some water or something to drink or anything like that. Then we'll come back and we'll build a campaign from scratch in a live environment. So you'll get to see that in real time, and you're welcome to follow along on your computer. If you're on a computer right now, if you have an extra monitor, whatever your situation is, if you'd like to log in to, like John mentioned, we are going to be doing it doing the live build in a Facebook environment for reasons that I'll share just in a little bit. So if you are curious about running Facebook specific campaigns, you can follow along and build your own campaign at the same time. All right. Oh, also, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll have folks monitoring the chat. And if a question comes up, I'll do my best to answer it right away, or when there's sort of a natural break in the slides. This is a safe space. There are no stupid questions. Odds are, if you have a question, someone else probably has that question too. So please don't be afraid to ask any questions, or to stop me if I'm using phraseology or nomenclature that you're not familiar with. I'm always happy to explain. All right, let's get started here. So the first thing I like to talk about when I'm really talking about anything marketing related is your communications ecosystem. So no matter what type of business you have, how big or small it is, what industry you're in, you're probably using more than one channel to communicate, right? Now, you may not be using all the channels that you see here on the screen, but you're probably using some sort of combination of them. And I like to call that the ecosystem. And a successful communications campaign happens when you're using those multiple channels in a complementary way. So you are reinforcing and reiterating your message on all the different channels that you're using. Now, it might be in slightly different ways. Today, we're here to talk about social media, and the way you say something on social media might be slightly different than how you might say it in a print ad, or how you might say it in a radio ad, but the messaging should still be rather consistent to drive your point home. I like to say that if you get to a point where you're sick and tired of saying the same thing, the same message over and over again, you may be just approaching the right amount of saturation, right? We're so close to our messaging in our business that we hear those messages over and over again, and we feel that it's getting monotonous. But you have to remember that the people out there, the people that you're trying to reach, may be hearing it for the first time. So, also, another thing with your ecosystem is that you can't rely just on one channel, right? It has to be a mix of channels. So we're talking about social media here today, but be careful not to rely solely on social media to make all your dreams come true, right? Let's say you have an event that you want to sell tickets to, right? The impulse might say, oh, I'm going to run a Facebook ad to sell tickets to my event, right? Probably you're not going to get the result that you want by relying on that one channel. It's probably going to be a mix of social media, email, maybe you might do some other digital ads, maybe you are sending out a postcard, something like that. It's probably going to be a mix of channels that are going to give the result that you're looking for. The next key thing with any communications, and specifically social media, is relevance. The key to a successful campaign is going to be delivering relevant content to your target audience that's going to engage them enough that drives them to respond, right? And that response is going to be what drives revenue or drives engagement with that particular target audience. Now, this quote is not by me. This is by my good friend, Lee Gallagher. You can see his name down at the bottom. If you like this session today and you're kind of into this stuff, you can pick up his book. I get zero commissions or any compensation for plugging his book. His book is called Precision Marketing. And this is essentially what we're going to be talking about today, these underlying principles. You can get it on Amazon and, Kindle or print, whatever. But it's a very good book that talks a lot about the foundational principles that you'll be hearing over the next couple of hours. All right. Now, how do we achieve relevance? So this is the magic formula for relevance. So we are going to endeavor to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time on the right channel. When these things are aligned, then that is going to mean that we have a relevant message. And we have to be careful, right? The message might be slightly different depending on the channel, like we just talked about, or depending on the person, or depending on the time. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit on these sort of variations. But this is, and you'll get these slides. You're welcome to take a screenshot at any time. None of the information I'm going to be sharing with you is proprietary, but remember this particular formula here for relevance. So before you send out the next email, let's say for your business, stop and think, is this the right message for the group that I'm sending it to? Am I sending it at the right time? And is email the best channel for me to be reaching this particular cohort? And one more thing about this sort of global, this kind of looking at it on the macro side of things, is these are the four things that we're going to be talking about when we think about effective and relevant communication, right? We just talked about sort of targeting, right? We have to have target audiences, right? The right people. We have to know what that right message is. We have to know what that right channel is, which is the tactics. And then the number one thing that we have to remember is, what are our desired outcomes, right? And that's really going to guide everything. Do we want someone to purchase a product online? Do we want someone to come into our store? Do we want someone to download our ebook? Whatever it might be, what is that outcome? What are we driving people to do? And is that outcome clear? Is it easy to achieve? How are people going to be able to do that in the most direct way possible? So remember these four things, right? Always have a desired outcome when you're thinking about your communications campaigns. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the journey. You may, if you've read books on marketing, if maybe you are a marketer, you you've probably heard this thing about the funnel, right? The marketing funnel. And you want to bring people from top of funnel, which is sort of the least amount of engagement, all the way down to the bottom of the funnel, which would ideally be, a customer, right? I like to think of it more as a journey. In today's world, in today's communications landscape, the journey with our customers isn't so linear, right? They're experiencing our messaging on a variety of different platforms, and it's kind of a squiggly line. They're probably going to see our messaging 10, 20, 30, 40, or maybe even more times before they decide to take an action. Now, depending on what kind of business you have, let's say you have a shop on a busy main street. Sure, you could have someone that's just out kind of walking around, enjoying the day, and they pop into your shop without having any experience with your messaging or your brand prior to that. Absolutely, that could happen, right? And then the communications journey becomes after they've come into your shop, right? How are you going to keep in touch with that customer? For other types of businesses, all of that happens before, right? They may see your posts on social media multiple times. They may visit your website multiple times. They may hopefully sign up for your email list, so you've captured their email address, all before they end up making a purchase, right? And I put friend recommendation in here too, because we all know that word of mouth, testimonials, recommendations are so important in any customer journey, right? Somebody giving a testimonial or a friend saying, oh my gosh, you know what, that restaurant on Main Street, it's amazing. I want to bring you there. They have bottomless mimosas. It's so fun. That is going to hold a lot of weight. It's going to hold more weight than really any marketing message that we can put out there. But it's going to be a little bit squiggly, and we'll talk about how this factors into paid social media with things like custom audiences and website retargeting and things like that in the second half of this session today. All right, so now, when we had that formula for relevance, right message, right person, right time, right channel, we've got to figure out who that right person is. And when you are thinking about your customers, you are probably going to have or be able to identify who your absolute perfect customer is. Or if you have a service-based business, your perfect client, whatever the nomenclature is that you use in particular. So in marketing, we call those personas. There's other words for it, but it's a good idea before you start advertising on social media or really anywhere else to determine what that perfect customer is. You might have one, you might have two. When you're thinking about this, be very, very sort of narrow. Think about the attributes that the person would have that would be the absolute best customer, the person that would immediately see the value in what you offer and would have the highest propensity to make a purchase or to come into your restaurant or to engage with you about services. So you're probably, as I'm talking right now, you're probably thinking about who this person is. And if you find yourself thinking, oh, well, everybody in my community could be the perfect customer, right? Or everybody in my city or everybody in my county, that's too big of a net. You're always going to have one or two types of people that are going to be your perfect customer. And then you can sort of move out from there. No company, no business, no matter how big they are, is doing blanket messaging to everyone, right? Not Target or Zappos or anything like that. They are segmenting their messages 9 ways to Sunday. If you think about Zappos.com, I'd love to use them as an example. If you've ever purchased shoes from the website or anything else from that website, if you go to the website, you put a pair of shoes, let's say in your shopping cart, and you don't purchase them right away, you've probably gotten an email saying, hey, you forgot this in your cart. Even if you go back and buy the shoes, you probably have gotten additional emails with things similar to what you have purchased, reminding you to go back to Zappos to purchase more things because now they know what you like, right? That is them segmenting, right? That is them knowing that they have identified your persona as someone who likes this type of shoe, this maybe this brand or this style or this size. And so they have put you in that cohort. They've identified you as that persona, and they're going to keep feeding you more of that type of content. Right now, they're a huge company, right? And they do this all in an automated, a really slick automated way, but we can still do that in our own way, even as a small business or an entrepreneur. Facebook and other social media platforms using the paid campaign functionality, super economical way to do that I'll show you in the second half. So we can see with these two personas here, I've identified, these are just very general, right? But I've identified a few markers for both of these people that might determine what messaging I would use, right? If my business is, let's say, a coffee shop, right? Somebody who lives nearby is going to be a really great prospect, right? That's very important. If your coffee shop is in the first floor of their building, that makes that person a perfect customer for you, right? If you are a restaurant and you have people in your area, you want to talk to them, people who don't have time to cook, who have plenty of disposable income to eat out or to get takeout. Those are going to be important things for your business. So I'd invite you, you don't have to do it right now, but I'd invite you at some point over the next couple of days to jot down some of those descriptors for your perfect customers to try to have that persona take shape. All right. So with any marketing campaign, specifically social media, you always want to meet people where they already are. Meet your potential customers where they already are. Most people are not going to join a specific communications channel or social media platform simply because you are on it. I mean, maybe it could happen, I guess, but most people are probably not going to do that. So you want to go where the people you want to reach already are. And that's why it's so important to identify those personas, right? So you can get a sense of what social media platforms they might be using. And a very important point, though, is that we all have to remember that our ideal customers or our target audiences may use social media differently than we do. So they may be on the same channels, but have a different level of engagement, or they may use completely different channels altogether. Again, very important reason why we have to know those target audiences that we have. So this is a little graph, right? What webinar is complete without at least a couple charts and graphs? So this is a little graph from Pew Research Center. They have a lot of data that's for free out there about, how people use the internet, how people use social media. So I took a little screenshot of one of them. So this is basically, the levels of engagement on the different social media platforms. We can see that YouTube is the highest, right? And this has been the case for a number of years. So YouTube is the most popular search engine on the internet, second only to Google itself. So if your business lends itself to video content, having a YouTube account is probably going to be a good thing for a variety of your communications channels. Now, keep in mind, I think it's quality over quantity with social media, right? Don't feel like you need to be on every single social media channel. Only be on the ones that make sense for you and your business, and the ones that you have the time and energy to do really well. It doesn't make sense to have a Twitter account if the last tweet that you made, or I guess it's called X now, if the last tweet, and they still call them tweets, by the way, if the last tweet that you made was in 2018, that doesn't look very good for your brand. We can see here, though, that the second highest social media platform is Facebook. And no matter what, how you feel about the different CEOs of various social media platforms, Facebook still has the highest number of engaged users. Now, the one thing that is not on here is Threads, because Threads literally just launched, and we're still sort of figuring out. If you're on Threads, everyone is still sort of figuring out how that's going to pan out. But Facebook still has by far the most engaged users. It definitely skews sort of age 40 and up. So if your target audience is in that sort of age range, you probably want to look at Facebook. We can see also there's some other ones here. Instagram still ranks pretty high. TikTok is still pretty new. TikTok also skews very young. So if you are looking for people who are in their teens, 20s, you probably want to take a look at TikTok. Even if you yourself are not a TikTok user, your audience may be on TikTok. All right. And I have another graph here that gives you a little bit of a sense how the use of these varying social media platforms differs based on some demographic groupings. And I won't go through all of these here. And just a reminder, you'll get this deck afterwards so you can look at it a little bit more closely. But it's still, it's the same pattern, right? Most people use YouTube, but then the next closest is still going to be Facebook. And you can kind of see some variations there among age, among income, among education, where people live. So you can use this data as a little bit of a guide to, where you want to put your time, effort, and money. In fact, what we're going to be talking about today on social media. All right. I have a couple of graphs here specifically related to older adults. And the only reason why I put these in here is because every time I do a session on anything digital, social media specifically, I always get some folks that will say, oh, well, we have a segment of our customers that are older and they don't use social media. So how am I going to, they don't use smartphones. They don't use computers. So, how is this relevant to me? And there's tons of data out there that show that they do. They may use different social media than you do. If you are a big time TikTok user, right? Then, somebody who is, 65 plus may not be on TikTok. They're probably going to be on Facebook, right? So you may not see them on TikTok, but that doesn't mean that they're not using social media. And we can also see that older adults absolutely own smartphones. Although I've heard that, like flip phones and things like that, they're making a comeback. But most people own a smartphone. A lot of folks own tablets of some sort or laptops. When we think about people 65 and older today, it's functionally a much different cohort than someone who was over 65, let's say, 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. So don't forget that. People who are older, this actually goes for a number of different cohorts. We have to remember that most people will go online to do research on a product or a restaurant or whatever it might be prior to engaging with that particular business. And you probably can think about a time where you've done the same thing, right? You've heard about a new restaurant. You want to know what the menu is. You're probably going to look online. you're going to do a Google search. If they have a website, you'll go to the website. You'll probably also check out their Facebook or their social media to kind of see what's going on there. A lot of restaurants post, pictures of their food, pictures of their chef, things like that. So, and that's all happening before you even make a reservation or before you stop in the restaurant. So it's important to remember that people are going online and using social media to do research in addition to simply engaging with your business. Now we're going to talk about post content, right? What is the optimal post content? And this is going to go for organic and paid, but I'm going to talk specifically about paid post content, since that's what we're here to talk about today. When you're running social media campaigns, there's a few things that I always recommend your posts contain. The first thing always is engaging visuals, right? Whether or not the social media platform requires that you use a visual. The one exception to this might be very occasionally LinkedIn, because text posts still do pretty well on LinkedIn. But for all of the other ones, using engaging visuals is key. Whether that is a photo or a video, it doesn't really matter. Having something that's going to grab people's attention is super important. The way that our brains work is that we process imagery faster than we process text. So and most people are accessing social media on a mobile device. So when you're scrolling on your mobile device, if you think about it, the next time you're on Facebook or TikTok or whatever, what's probably going to make you stop is the visual. And then you're going to go look and read what the text says, right? This happens on Facebook, it happens on Twitter, it happens on Instagram, even more so on TikTok, because the text is down at the bottom, right? And you oftentimes have to expand, but that visual is so important. The next thing that I always recommend is to have concise and clear text. Unless your brand has developed a long form content strategy. A great example of this is Humans of New York. If you follow Humans of New York on any one of the social media platforms, you know what I'm talking about. It's long form content. Unless you are a brand like that, having concise, easy to read, easy to skim text is very important. Now, in addition, to move one step further with text, you always want to have the appropriate hashtags. And I'll talk about hashtags more in just a second for the social media platform that you're on. Not all social media platforms use the same hashtags, right? There can be variations. And on some, hashtags matter more than others. On Instagram, hashtags are super, super important. On Facebook, not so much. They're not weighted so heavily. On TikTok, really, really important, right? So making sure that you've got the right hashtags to accompany that text, a great way to go about it. The next thing is a CTA, which is a call to action. If you're posting and you've identified that outcome that we talked about a few slides ago, you want to make sure that you have a clear call to action to tell people what you want them to do once they've seen your post, right? We talked about the customer journey. This is part of that customer journey, right? You've got their attention on social media. Well, what is the next step that you want them to take in that journey? You want them to click something, and then you probably want them to go to your website for more information. So having that call to action, super important. Going along with that is to have a click-through URL where they can just easily click and take that action. Now, there are exceptions, right? If you're on Instagram and you're just doing a regular post, you can't have a click-through URL in the body of the post, but you can have a URL in the bio. It says link in bio, or however you want to say it. But In any case, when you can, have a click-through URL in the body of the post so that people can just, tap and go to the next step in that journey. The last thing here I have is link tracking. Any campaign, especially digital, especially social media, is really only as good as how far you can track it. I hope everybody has their camera off so I can't see you, but I know that everybody here has Google Analytics installed on their website. You can just nod and say yes. I know everybody is nodding even though I can't see you. And everybody is looking at their analytics data with some regularity. If you don't have Google Analytics on your website or you're not sure, reach out to your website provider if you've got one. If you've got a website person that did your website, ask if you have Google Analytics. If not, ask them to put it on there and give you access to it. If you use a provider like Squarespace or Wix or anyone like that, you can very easily integrate Google Analytics onto that site. Google Analytics is free to use. It's super easy to create an account. If you already have a Gmail or a Google Workspace account, you can sign up with your same email and it'll give you the information on how to add it to your site. If you take one thing away from this webinar, in addition to all the social media stuff that we're going to talk about, make sure you start looking at your Google Analytics. Now, what I mean by link tracking is that when somebody clicks on your click-through URL, right, in your social media campaigns, you want to be able to track that over in your Google Analytics so you can see what that person is doing after they've made it over to your website. That's how you're going to know whether or not the campaign was really successful, right? That's the results part. You can say, oh, I had, 200 clicks of my link and, 11,000 impressions on Facebook and all of that kind of stuff. But what happens when they go to your website? Did they actually buy the product that you talked about in your post? Did they actually download that ebook? Right? That tracking is going to be so important when you want to figure out the efficacy of those campaigns. Okay. Now, moving on from the post, the sort of the optimal elements to the posts, I do want to talk a little bit about accessibility. And actually, all of these things here that we're going to talk about, they go really beyond accessibility. They're just good ideas for everyone, right? We talked about hashtags before. I like to recommend using Pascal case or title case for hashtags, right? You can see there where each word is capitalized. Not only is this great for accessibility for someone who's using a screen reader because they have low vision maybe, but also it's just a lot easier to read for the rest of us too. If you use capital letters. Now, if you are not, I'm dating myself. If you are my age or older, you probably remember when hashtags first came out, if you were on social media back then, and it was so uncool to capitalize in a hashtag, right? That is no longer the case. It's actually a good thing to do your hashtags like this now. Images. I talked a lot about having really striking images in your posts that are going to make people stop scrolling. Make sure that those images have minimal text in them. And I'll show you an example in the next slide on why. But make sure that your images or graphics are primarily visual without lots of text. The accessibility part of this is that a screen reader cannot read text that's embedded in an image. It just looks like a big photo to a screen reader. So if you have someone using a screen reader, it's not going to be able to read that text. And that goes for email and website as well. And then for the text itself, make sure that the message is super clear, concise, it's in the right voice for the social media platform, and also that it's evergreen. I always recommend not to use words like today, tomorrow, next week in social media posts, especially paid ones, because how the algorithm works. I made it 40 minutes before I said the A word, algorithm. Because of how the algorithm works on all the social media channels, people may not see that post right away, right? On some channels, they may see it 2 weeks later. So it may seem silly to you to, continually write out the date. Let's say you've got an event coming up and you're writing out the date, sort of over and over again. That may seem silly to you, but you have to remember that people probably aren't seeing that post. If you're saying you have an event tomorrow, they're probably not seeing that post today. Some people will, most people won't. All right, I'm going to speed up just a little bit so that we can get to our break.
We have 2 quick questions too,
Oh, good.
Cece.
Yes, please.
So the first one is, do you recommend personal pictures or stock pictures when you're creating these ads?
Good question. Good question. Always use a photo, if you can, that is a real photo of your business or of you, or whatever it is that you're promoting. That's always the best thing. So if you can invest in having a photographer come out, or if it's a behind the scenes kind of thing, cameras on iPhones and Samsungs and all that stuff, they're so good now. You don't always have to have a photographer come out and do a photo shoot. But yes, I'd always recommend, if you can use real photos of you, your team, your location, that's always the best option. Now, if you can't, sure, using stock photos, absolutely doable. To be honest, I use them all the time, because you can't always have a sort of a real photo every single time.
Good answer. The second question is, are videos more powerful than text? I know you mentioned that a little bit. And then a user wants to know, I've been testing both and have engaged more with video than pictures. When it comes to paid ad, what's the recommended approach?
Yeah. Also, super good question. So I'll say this with the caveat that good content is good content, right? And a good visual is a good visual. You could have a very, very striking photo that is extremely effective. That said, if it makes sense for you to have compelling visual content, videos do usually perform better. They tend to be ranked higher. However, that's not to say that you should try to create videos that really aren't impactful. So for example, using a tool, and we'll talk, I'll talk a little bit about Canva later, but if you're a Canva user, right, you can make automated posts in Canva that you can spit out as a video. Sure, that's going to load into Facebook or Instagram, as a video or a reel. But if it's just a couple tiny things moving in or moving around, right, it may not mean that automatically it's an impactful video, right? It's quality. You want to go for quality. So if you have the opportunity to have a really impactful video, something that's really cool, that's really on brand for you, but also matches the voice and the style of the social media platform, then I would definitely say, to use video, especially for paid.
Yeah, I agree, Tin. I can add to that. And it's good, especially when paid, it's good to, test out both and to see, which one is bringing in higher conversions, because the way the search engines and the social media platform, they have their own database of how they crawl the text, the images, and the videos. So someone who doesn't watch a video may be just searching on the search bar for text. So those are all good forms, I'd say, to really test out. And it really depends on your niche too. Your niche, whether people are engaging through the videos or through the text. Because some people, when you do text, a lot of times if you're doing lead magnets, right? Like incentive, if someone signs up, they can download like a free ebook or something, right? So that's that's been effective too. So depending on what your niche and what your intentions are, if you're trying to generate leads, then I think it all depends on your strategy that you would have to look into. So hopefully that answers your questions.
Mhm. Yeah, cool. All right. So one of the things so I talked about in the last slide, when you're using images, not to have a lot of text embedded in the image for accessibility purposes. But I have to say, this is one of my biggest pet peeves just in the digital world, because it happens in email a lot, it happens on websites, happens a lot on social media. So these are examples of what not to do. And I have nothing against either of these brands, but these are just really good examples of, how not to do it. See how they have a lot of text, or a fair amount of text actually embedded in the image itself, keeping in mind that most people are using social media on a mobile device. When it's on a small screen, it's going to be really hard to use. If you look at this Green Bay Packers post, this is pretty large. I've enlarged this tweet. Clearly, these screenshots are taken when it was still Twitter, not all that long ago. And it's still a little bit hard to read, right? Now, just imagine that on a phone. So the next time you send out an email blast, if you're using like MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that, make sure that your text is text and your images or your visuals are visuals. There we go. Here's some examples of what to do instead. There's images that are images. Text is in the body of the post. You can see on the right one that there is some text embedded in the image, but it's not the entire content, of the text. And it's pretty much reiterated in the body text that's in the body of the post. So you're not missing anything if you can't read the text. And actually, the text on that image is pretty gosh darn big. All right, now, before we go on our break in just a couple minutes, I want to talk about custom audiences, because we're going to talk about this quite a bit when we go through creating paid social media campaigns, because custom audiences are super powerful audiences, and you can make them in pretty much all of the paid social media platform options. When we go through in the live environment, like John mentioned, we will be in a Facebook environment because it is such a popular platform. Most of you will probably be advertising. If you're trying out paid social, your Facebook will probably be Facebook. Instagram will probably be a platform that you're using. Because of time, as he mentioned, we can't go through every single platform, but the features, functionality, kind of how things are organized, it's all very similar, and I'll point out some differences as we go through. And custom audiences is one of the things that is very similar. So using custom audiences, super powerful when you're doing paid social media promotion. So at its basic level, a custom audience is a cohort of people that all share similar behavior, and it's all coming from an identified data source. So three of the, let's say, probably the most frequent use cases for a custom audience in social media for targeting purposes is a customer list. So if you have, your POS system, if you collect email addresses, phone numbers, that kind of thing, names, you can take that customer list and you can load that into Facebook and serve content directly to those people on social media. You can also install the Facebook pixel on your website, and we'll talk about that also in the second half. And you can target people who have visited your website, even if they don't follow you on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. You can also target people who might be on your email list. I see this a lot, and I do this a lot. People where you already know they're engaged and maybe you email with them, but you want to reach out to them on another communications channel in your ecosystem. So you can add those email subscribers into Facebook, let's say, and target them with specific content. Taking that one step further is called a lookalike audience. So a lookalike audience is going to create an audience of people who look like the people in one of those custom audiences. So you can find new people that are just like your identified customers. And now, you might be saying, well, I can do that through targeting and all this stuff. Okay. It's like, the Facebook machine and the social media machine, they have so many levels of segmentation and they know everything about us. They know what I cooked my kids for dinner tonight before I got on this call. So there's no way that our feeble brains could do the same amount of matching and modeling that the social media platforms do. And the lookalike audience is a super great way to really quickly have them do all the work for you. And let's say you upload a customer list. Say, I want to create a lookalike audience. Find me people who are like my customers. Website visitors, find me people who are like people who are already coming to my website. Super, super powerful type of targeting. And we'll go through in the second half how to actually set those up. Okay, last thing we'll talk about before we take our break, I promise. I have some tools here for you. So Canva, you're probably familiar with Canva. Really excellent for creating social media content, social media visuals. If you're unfamiliar with it, if you don't use it, I highly recommend you try it out. Even if you are like a Photoshop or Creative Suite user, I'm a Creative Suite Power user, but for social media, oftentimes I'll just go into Canva because it's so much faster. ChatGPT, John is going to talk about ChatGPT quite a bit in the second half. So, and that's the AI portion of creating some AI, using AI to help create the actual messaging and the body of the post, helping to create some targeting, some headlines, all of that good stuff. Buffer, is my favorite tool, free tool for most, for scheduling social media on different platforms. The free version will allow you to have, I think it's 3 connected platforms. So most businesses are probably going to have 3 or less, right? So you'll probably be within the free version, super lightweight, really easy to use piece of software. The next one is Dash This. So if you want to gather all of your social media campaign data, paid and organic, plus you could put your Google Analytics, plus you could put your MailChimp. If you want to see it all in a handy dandy dashboard, I love this software called Dash This. I've been using it for quite a few years. It's affordable. If you've ever looked at dashboard software before and your eyes bug out of your head because of the pricing, it's enterprise level pricing. This is, I think, the lowest price tier, which gives you 3 dashboards, which is probably 2 more than you need for your business. I think it's like $40 or $43 a month, which is much, much less than the others. The one on the bottom right here, I'm saving my favorite for last. The one on the bottom right here is Zapier. And Zapier, if you want to get a little nerdy, Zapier is a way that you can connect your social media to other platforms. So remember, we talked about those custom audiences and wanting to connect and wanting to send emails to, or my gosh, show social media content to people who are on your email list. You can actually use Zapier to create a little link between, let's say, your MailChimp and that Facebook custom audience, so that when somebody subscribes to your MailChimp, it dumps them into a custom audience, right? So you can do it kind of automatically. Now, the last one is the Google Analytics Campaign URL Builder. If you use Bitly or something like it, right, I would recommend switching to the campaign URL builder because it is going to allow you to track very specific links, just like a Bitly would. And actually, it works in tandem with Bitly because you can use Bitly to shorten one of these automatically. This is a free tool. It is going to allow you to see all that campaign data seamlessly in your Google Analytics account, which now you have installed on your website and you're looking at frequently. So you'll be able to see all of that together in a super easy and seamless way. All right. Whew. Okay, that was a lot of words. Any other, excuse my dog. Are there any other questions, thoughts, or feelings before we take our 5-minute break?
I guess not.
I guess not everyone is so just blown away.
Yeah,
okay.
I think there'll be more interactive once we do the demo after we come back from break. Let me see. I think we do have someone asking any records of quick video editing recommendations.
Sure. Well, I mean, depending on what kind of editing you want to do, you can do some like simple editing in Canva. So you can, if you need to shorten or clip, a video, you can do it in Canva, and it would put it automatically. You can choose the social media platform that you want to use the video on, so it'll kind of size it properly for you. If you have an Adobe Creative Suite account, there are, you can use the powerful software, but if you want, you can use oh my gosh, John, what's I'll find it during our break. There's a free tool that you can use. It's an Adobe tool that it will let you do some video editing. It'll let you crop and trim and put some filters on videos, things like that. I will find it for you during the break, and I will make sure to put it in the chat for you. I don't know why the name is slipping my mind right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of free video editing tools out there too. I know your phone, you can do it with your phone. Microsoft has it in video editing if you want to do the time and cut pieces and add photos and videos together. So there's a lot of tools out there. I'd say just search for the one that best fits your needs and your budget. For myself, I use Canva, I use Adobe Premiere to do some of the editing, but those are a little bit more advanced. But if you're a beginner, I'd say look to something that's more automated that can help you. Okay, any other questions? All right, so let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back in. Okay, let's continue on with our webinar. And Cece, did you have anything else to add before I do some demo on using ChatGPT?
I don't think so. Let me pull I just put in the chat the site, the Adobe site that I couldn't remember is Adobe Express. They just launched a revamped sort of version of it that has a bunch of features. To be honest, I've only tried out a couple of them, but it looks kind of neat. That said, I still love Canva. I think Canva is probably the easiest and most user-friendly one out there, but you could try out Adobe Express if you'd like. Hang on a second, John, let me get this. Oh, I don't even need to share my screen. You need to share your screen for this part.
Okay, I thought you were going to share the Adobe Express, but that's, yeah, you did shoot the URL into the chat box, so that should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put my screen here. Okay, so with this demonstration here, I'm just going to show you how you can use ChatGPT commands to create like a social media campaign strategy, right? So last week I did show you guys that I use this website called Centra.ai. It has thousands of prompts, and prompts again are commands that you type into the chat GPT. And sometimes you do have to type in the right prompts to get the right answers. So I like to use something that's already been tested. You can pretty much just ask any type of questions. For example, you can just ask, hey, build me a Facebook ad campaign strategy, and ChatGPT can look into that information and come up with some type of strategy. But for here, I'm just going to search for some prompts for Facebook, right? So let's just say Facebook. And then here are some prompts for my intention. So I'm looking to generate Facebook ads, targeting ideas. So this is the one I'm going to choose. And then there's a couple prompts here that I can take, and pretty much you just have to read what each prompt is. And if it's related to what you're trying to do, you can just use this, copy paste this prompt here into ChatGPT. And when you look at the window here, the parentheses and green line, that's where you're going to put in your own information, right? So I'm just going to read the first line here. It says, in order to develop and optimize Facebook ad campaign to effectively promote product/service. So whatever your product that you're selling, whatever type of service that you're providing, this is where you're going to put it, and replace it in the parentheses. So for me, I could say digital marketing as a service, right? And then you just continue going down wherever it asks for the question in parentheses, you'll just kind of fill in the blanks. I know there's a Facebook interest and target audience. If you don't know what that is, you can go to Facebook, kind of create the campaign, and you'll see all the interest and audience. But for here, I already have, there's a website that shows you all the audience and interest lists already. So you could just kind of go through whatever is relevant to what you're doing. So for me, it would be digital marketing. I could just take digital marketing and fill in the blanks. So I looked into these prompts already. I'm going to be using this prompt here. It's very similar. It's asking what are some audience targeting ideas for Facebook ad campaign promoting products, services to certain audience, right? So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to put this in. And again, the product service that I'm providing is, let's just say, let's just go with Facebook advertising, actually. Yeah. Facebook. So Facebook advertising is my service, my target audience. Let's just say, if I don't know what that is, I can look at the list here. And I will be targeting small businesses. So I'm going to replace that into target audience. And it says who have previously visited my website, the demographic, and where they live in, right? So the city, I'll say Minneapolis. State, Minnesota. And the country, I'll just skip. For the demographic, I'll probably just skip that too. It's going to be more generalized. And then it asks, additionally, can you provide suggestions for excluding any audience who have like a certain criteria, right? So right now, I don't really have anything. I'm just going to kind of keep it general. And then I'm going to click send message. ChatGPT is going to create a strategy for me. And it starts off saying, you can follow these audience targeting ideas for your Facebook ad campaign. The first one it lists is custom audiences. Second is target location targeting. Third is demographics. Fourth, behavior targeting. Fifth is interest targeting. And number 6 is lookalike audience. And, you know, Cece, I know you spoke about lookalike audiences. So even ChatGPT knows that that's how important it is. So, you know, and you can kind of read through this and see what the details are when it comes to what they're asking for. If you don't understand something, for example, what's a lookalike audience, right? So you could just reply back to ChatGPT, tell me more about lookalike audiences. And then ChatGPT can come back and tell you what it means, right? Lookalike audiences is a feature on Facebook ads that enables you to target individuals who are similar to your existing customer leads or website visitors. So it's going to, like you mentioned, it's pretty much duplicating, your targeted audience and finding new audience that fits that criteria. And you can go on and on. The good thing about ChatGPT, why we use it is because it's engaging. You can ask question over and over and continue on with the conversation that you've already asked, and it will remember what you mentioned the very first time, right? So I can even go further. How do I create the ad? How do I create a Facebook ad? And then it goes on. It tells me how I can create the Facebook ad. Open up Facebook Ad Manager, create the campaign, set up ad set. So this is what CC will show you in a bit here, but this is just more ChatGPT, like a written direction of what you need to do next. So this is how AI can help with your business, right? It can really do a lot of research for you, research that works already, provide effective strategies for you to use without you having to do a lot of research on the internet. So that's all I'm going to kind of cover on for the prompts for ChatGPT. There's another software that I use. So ChatGPT here, the professional version, it is paid, but there is some paid versions, some free versions that you can find online where you can put in similar commands and it'll come back with similar results too, like ChatGPT. I'm sorry, chatAIGPT.org. I kind of cut and paste the question here earlier. It kind of came back with similar results, but a little bit different. You can also go to Bing AI and do the same thing too, and you can copy paste in terms of, I did this earlier. I just asked, hey, create me a effective Facebook ad campaign, and then Bing AI came back with some instructions on how to create that and lists the resources where it got the information from. So there's different free tools that you can use, but we find that ChatGPT is a little bit more detailed and specific. One other thing I was going to show you, Copymatics. If you don't have ideas of how to generate engaging headlines or engaging content, there's AI tools out there that you can use to help with that. So let's say if I'm looking to do some Facebook posts, right? If I'm looking to maybe write some Facebook primary text or body text content, I could say my audience will be small businesses. You can set their creativity, you can set the tone of the written language. So let's be creative. Product name, let's just say digital marketing, and let's product description. Let's say it's Facebook advertising. Generate. And then it'll come out with different content for me. The first one says, take your business to the next level with our digital marketing services. We specialize in Facebook advertising, so you can reach more customers and generate more sales. Let us help you get started, right? So this can give you a lot of ideas of how you want to word and have call to action headlines and body content where it can engage and use it to read more, click on your ads. If I want to generate like 10 more different variations, I can increase the number of variation. It'll turn out with different ad copies. So some of the tools like this will help you because like for myself, I'm not a good writer, so I wouldn't be able to think of all these engaging content, right? So AI helps me a lot when it comes to building ads. And then CC mentioned earlier about Canva. Canva is a free and paid tool. The paid gives you more option and more templates that you can choose. So since we're talking about Facebook, I'll keep it under Facebook. So under business, there's a marketing. Under marketing, there is a social media section where you can design social media posts. And you can choose which type of platform it is, if it's Instagram, Facebook, or whatever it is. So let's say, since we're talking about Facebook, let's choose, let's do like a Facebook post. And Canva has like pre-made templates already. These are, you can use these templates. All you have to do is, whichever template you want to choose, you can just change the content, the website, whatever it is that you need to change. You can even change the photos. So for example, let's click on this one here. This is like a short video. So if you're looking to do some quick reels or short videos, these are good templates you can choose as well. And then if I want to use this template here, I could just customize the template, and I can change up, the promo code. I can add my website URL and everything, and then I'll just regenerate the. I can play the content again, and I'll just like play the video for me. It's about 9 seconds. And then whatever type of templates you're looking for, whatever services or product that you sell, they have hundreds of different templates that you can use. You can choose from. These are more like short videos. But if you're looking to just do like an image, you can also do that as well. So this is Facebook video, and if we were to do like a Facebook post, you can choose these different templates here. Well, these are all videos, but if you want to just choose regular design, you can create a design just for Facebook. And you can search here too. So if I do digital marketing, right, I could just type in digital marketing, and it'll come up with different templates for me. Digital marketing, Facebook ad. And then, based on my search, it comes back with all different templates that are made for Facebook ads. So if I wanted to run this ad for Facebook, I can just click customize template. I could just change my URL here, my phone number, images, the wordings, content. And then basically, once I'm done, I just download it to the format that I need. You can choose from different format, videos, PDF, and you can use it. So Canva makes it so much easier. I mean, Adobe Photoshop, I used to use Adobe Photoshop, but that's more like advanced and little details that you want to be able to edit. But if you want something more easier, more automated, Canva is the way to go. It's a lot easier. It's all pre-built templates. There's hundreds of templates that you can choose from to fit your needs. And that's pretty much it. I know we're running out of time here. I want to give some more time for CC to walk us through setting up the Facebook campaign. So I'm going to stop my screen share here. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to follow up with us afterwards as well. And CC, it's all yours.
All right, let me share my screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. Okay, so before we start any of this, there's a couple really important things that you should know. So this goes for almost all of the social media platforms. If you see a little button down at the bottom of a post that says, boost post, right? And Facebook, Instagram, these little boost post buttons, or sponsor this post or anything like that, stop yourself. Do not click on those little buttons. That is, especially with Facebook, that is Facebook's way, like sneaky way of getting hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars out of you, $20 at a time, and makes it very difficult to track. With Facebook and Instagram, and also LinkedIn, and also Twitter, and all the other ones, you always want to use their ads management sort of platform in order to create your campaigns and all of that stuff. And that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to go through that. And we're going to do it in Facebook, which is Facebook and Instagram together. But with all the other ones, there's a comparable sort of system. So with Facebook, I guess I should say Meta. So with Meta, you're going to want to use their business suite. So if you don't have a business suite account or a business manager account, you can go to business.facebook.com. I'm 99% sure that URL still works. I just did it the other day, and sign up for a business manager account. And that's going to give you access to all the stuff that we're going to see today in one place. So everything is going to be like super organized, and you're going to be able to give permissions. Let's say you start working with a consultant or an ad agency or something like that. You can give them permissions really easily. You can manage all the things. So all of your ads and your your custom audiences and your pixels and all the stuff that we're going to talk about today. Create that business manager account. Now I have this account set up. It's a dummy account. I don't really use it. So, your use case is probably going to be different, but all of the steps are going to be very similar. So I'm logged in to my business suite, right? We can see here, Meta Business Suite, right? I already have my account set up, and I wish we had time to go through the account setup portion, but we don't today. And also knowing that some of you may already have it set up. So this is assuming, or this is after you've got your business manager account set up. You've connected your Facebook page, your Instagram account, your all of your other various things. You've put your credit card in for your ads manager and all of that. So the first thing to do when you want to create a paid Facebook or Instagram campaign is you always want to go through the ads manager, always. And when you're on the screen, you can get to it by going to all tools and then ads manager. It's going to open up. I already have the tab open here. It's going to open up your ads manager, which is going to allow you to create your campaigns. So let's go ahead and create a campaign. So in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, they all have a campaign structure. And let me show you the campaign structure. Can everyone see that tab when I switch tabs?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Sometimes my screen share gets wonky and it doesn't show the tab when I switched. Okay.
I didn't get that.
So, oh my gosh, Siri was talking to me. So this is the campaign structure for Facebook, but all the other ones are similar. So we've got a campaign, and then we've got ad sets, and then individual ads. So in most cases, the campaign is going to be the overarching, the umbrella sort of targeting for the thing you're promoting. For this particular example, I'm going to say that I own a store and I'm having a back to school sale. I don't know, I've got young kids. They're going back to school in a couple of weeks. This is very timely for me. I don't know if anybody else on the call has kids. You're probably in my same situation. So my campaign is going to be my back to school sale, right? The ad sets are going to be where the targeting lives. So remember, we talked about those perfect customers and those custom audiences and all of that. I can have multiple targeting groups under each campaign. So for example, if I'm doing a back to school sale, one of my targeting groups could be parents of high school students. Another targeting group could be parents of elementary school students, right? Those would be slightly different messages, right? Those parents are going to be getting different stuff for those age groups for that back to school sale. But it's all still under that umbrella, that campaign umbrella of my back to school sale. And then Oh, and you can have pretty much as many ad sets underneath that campaign as you want, right? I mean, for most things, it's probably going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 if you're using some custom audiences in there. But you can have definitely more than one. Then under each ad set is where the actual ads are going to be. And those are posts, right? For Facebook, Instagram, really for all of them, you're promoting posts. So you're promoting content. So, and you can have many different posts, many different ads under each ad set. And this is important because remember, I just gave the example of one of my ad sets, one of my targeting groups is parents of high school students. Another targeting group is parents of elementary school students. The content in those posts is going to be different, right? So I can have a couple posts, a couple ads under, the high school student one that, I don't know, my kids aren't high school age. What was I into when I was in high school? I don't know, cool clothes, some, I don't know, BK nights, high tops, whatever. Elementary school parents, right? The kids are not going to be the ones doing the shopping, right? It's the parents, and it's a completely different set probably of items. So you can have as many different ads and sort of messaging variations underneath of that. Okay, so now let's go and build that in our ads manager. So the first thing it's going to ask when we create a campaign is what's the objective, right? Remember way back at the beginning of the webinar, we talked about what our objective is for the campaign, right? And in Facebook and in paid social media land, usually these options are what they give you, right? So awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, if you have an app, and sales. So we're going to start super simple. We're going to use the traffic, because the objective for my campaign is I want people to click from the post over to my website so that they can buy stuff, right? So I want to get people, this is the journey that I'm taking people on. I'm taking people from sort of step 1, which is viewing my Facebook post. Step 2, being interested enough in what I have to say and having it be relevant enough for them to want to click. To them, step 3, clicking over, getting to my website, and then my website takes over the journey to hopefully get them to purchase something. So we'll pick traffic, right? So traffic is sending people over to your website, over to a destination. So now it's going to open up. Now here's where we do all the targeting. So we can name our campaign. So I'll name it Back to School. Most of you are not going to have a special ad category. Now, if you are in the, or if you're running ads for things like, political campaigns, things like that, that's going to be a special ad category. And you are going to have to verify, they're going to take you through a verification process so that you can run any ads really at all for that ad category. We won't go through that today because that would be a special case. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me later. I've done lots of social media for special ad categories and know way more than I want to know about getting verified. So I'm happy to answer any questions. All right. So after that, the campaign details, you won't need to worry about this, right? Because you've already chosen your objective. The buying type, you're going to leave it at auction, right? Campaign spending limit, we're going to leave that just for the moment because we're going to choose our budget later. Okay. For right now, we're not going to set up, just for this demonstration, we're not going to set up an A/B test, but you can. So if you want to nerd out a little bit, you absolutely can set up an A/B test between different versions of messaging, different imagery, and see which one works best. This next one I am going to turn on just to show you kind of how it works is we're going to turn on the Advantage campaign budget, which means you can set a campaign level budget And Facebook will do the work of adjusting it for you based on what is performing better in terms of your ad set. So in ye olden times, we used to have to do this manually and be looking at the campaign every day and making these like little adjustments over time, right? But now Facebook will do it for you. So if you're more of a novice at this, if you're kind of starting out, I'd probably recommend to toggle this on, right? So that you don't have to be so concerned about monitoring and making any adjustments yourself. Now, you can select, now we select our budget. You have the choice between a daily budget or a lifetime budget. So if you've got an ongoing campaign where you're going to be running Facebook ads for the same campaign for 6 months, a year, you know, long time, daily budget, perfectly fine. In this case, I'm going to choose a lifetime budget because I'm talking about my back to school sale and there is a finite end date. So if you're promoting, if your business, maybe you're promoting a webinar that you're hosting or an event or a special promotion that has very discrete start and end dates, you're going to want to choose lifetime budget. So it automatically sets it to 700. That's quite generous. We're all small businesses and entrepreneurs here. I'm going to set it at 100. Okay. You don't have to have huge budgets to advertise on social media. It'll take the budget that you have and it'll use it, you know, to the best of its ability. It will tell you now, if you choose a budget that's too small and it can't really do anything with it, it'll tell you that you need to up your budget. All right, so we've got all of these things set here. Now, and if you look over here on the left side, you'll be able to follow along where we are within that campaign structure, right? So where we are right now, we're at the campaign. The next level, we're going to go down one level and we're going to be in the ad set level, which is where the targeting lives. Okay, so now I'm going to choose elementary school parents. Okay, so always name your ad set something that's very clear, right? So you can remember, and anybody else that you might be collaborating with, it's very clear what the targeting is. The conversion location, this is where you want people to go. It's already going to be on a website. Most of you are probably going to just be using website. You definitely, for the performance goal, you just want to leave it on maximize clicks, right? You want it to optimize it for you to show the content to people who are most likely to click on that link, on your CTA link, your click-through URL, to go over to your website. All right, so we're gonna leave everything. We're gonna leave dynamic creative. We're off, right? Because we're going super simple here. Now, because I chose a lifetime budget, we're going to need to choose a start date and an end date for this thing, right? So the start date today, the end date, let's say, is September 1st. All right. So it's going to know that I chose $100. So it's going to know it's got $100 to spend between now and September 1st, and it's going to optimize it over the course of that time. Now, here's the fun part. Now we get to choose our audience. We get to do the demographic and the audience targeting. So with the AI that John showed you regarding, you know, sort of targeting, with thinking about our perfect customers, right? This is where we're going to use that to make our targeting cohorts. So the first thing is going to be geography. And see how sneaky Facebook can be? I had to mouse over to edit, right? Because it wants to be as broad as possible so that it can take as much of your budget as possible, right? So when you mouse over and you can edit, you can do specific geographic areas. Let's choose St. Paul. All right. We can choose when you put in your geography, you can choose a radius, and you can edit the radius around that location, or you can choose for it to just be a certain city. You can also load in zip codes if you'd like, if you want to reach very specific geographic areas. It's really whatever you want. I'm going to leave this on a radius. So it's going to be 25 miles around St. Paul. And you can also see this little drop down here where we can include or exclude. So if I wanted to include St. Paul, but exclude Minneapolis, I could do that too, right? If I wanted to do a radius and exclude certain zip codes, I could do that also. We're going to get into some and/or targeting with the demographics, where I'll kind of show you a little bit more detail how that works. I'm just keeping an eye on time. All right, so we've got 25 miles around St. Paul. We can also do age. So in this case, if somebody's got an elementary school kid, I mean, we can't make, huge generalizations, right? But let's say we're going to estimate that the parent would probably be between 25 and 45, let's say. Okay. So our age, gender, we can choose gender. Usually unless it's a very specific use case, like, I'm working with a client that specifically works with women, or I'm actually working with a client right now that is a holistic health. She's a holistic health consultant for people who are experiencing pregnancy. So there's definitely gender considerations there. However, in this case, because we just want to target parents, I'm just going to click all. Now, here we get into the demographics. So Facebook and Instagram and most of them have the same thing. There's a wide variety of demographics. So you can target by whether they're a parent or not, by interests, by job title. So like John was giving you the example of if he wanted to run a campaign for digital marketing services, right? Probably he might have his ideal customer, a job title might be one of those attributes that he would want to target. Right now, I'm working with a client that sells software for K through 12 educators. So when I do that targeting, I look for job titles like teacher, middle school teacher, elementary school teacher, assistant principal, these kinds of things. For this, I'm going to choose parents, and it should pop up. And we can see here that there's a lot of options for parents with children of different ages. So I'm going to click parents with early school age children. Okay. Now I could narrow this audience further. So I could say parents with early school age children and also have another attribute, or I could exclude some folks within that targeting group. For right now, I'm just going to leave it with this, right? We just want parents with early school age children, kids, this is like first, second, third grade. Okay. Now there's this little button down here that says, do you want Facebook to automatically expand to people who are similar that they think will also click on your ad? In this case, for our purposes here, I would try this out and click that to see if it can expand that targeting for you to reach people that might be interested in back to school or have interests related to early school age children. You don't have to, though. And you'll notice that as we're doing this on the right-hand side, it's tabulating the audience size. So it's saying, we think that we can reach, that this is about the number of people that match this criteria. Okay, now we'll talk about custom audiences and saved audiences right after we finish this little bit, and I'll show you how those work. Down here is placements. It's going to automatically default to this recommended placements, right? Which is basically every single placement. So this is where your ad is going to show, or where your promoted post is going to show. I recommend not having that clicked and switching to manual placements, and I'll share with you why. And there's really one big reason why, and it's right here, Instagram. Remember we talked about, if you're an Instagram user, you know this, but remember we talked about a little bit ago how Instagram and Facebook and all the other ones, they have different hashtags. In Instagram, you can't have a clickable link in the body of the post. Facebook, you can, right? So if you make a post, if you go into Canva, like John showed you, and make a Facebook post, right? It's going to be slightly different than the voice and the structure required for Instagram. So I normally recommend separating these two when you're doing really organic as well, but especially when you're doing paid. Because if you're spending money at it, you want people to be able to convert, and you want it to have the right hashtags, the right voice, the right feel, the right size image, all of that stuff. So let's say this ad that I'm going to create is specifically for Facebook. It's got a clickable URL, all of that good stuff. So I'm just going to uncheck Instagram. So it's not going to, now I can go back and create a separate one for Instagram that's formatted appropriately. The rest, for our purposes, you can just leave it, right? But I would uncheck Instagram. All right, let's click next. Now here we're in the ad zone, and we can name our ad. Now I have a photo that I chose that's a backpack, and you'll see it in a second. I just got it from Adobe stock. There's lots of, I'm using stock. There was the question earlier about, do you use real photos, stock photos? Tonight, I'm using a stock photo. You can use a service called Adobe Stock. You can get stock photos using Canva, like John showed you. There's other websites called Unsplash that has free stock photos. There's another one called Pexels that also has free stock photos. So if you need to go that route, there's lots of resources. All right, so I already have my page loaded in, so it's already set here. And we're going to create our ad right here. Now you can, if you've already got a post on your Facebook, you can simply move that in and you can say use existing post. But you can also create your ad here. And I'm going to manually upload my image. And it's going to be a single image, but you can also do a video as well if you want. And then I'm going to go down here to add creative, and I'm going to add my image. I'm going to upload it. I'm going to go to my desktop. Here it is. Now, this image is not from Canva. This is a straight image, and I'm going to show you what it will do and why using Canva is a really good tool, because it will size it appropriately. So it'll give you the option to crop, and it's actually pretty slick to crop and make it the right size here. So, but it's always easier to do it in a platform like Canva, so you have a little bit more control. But here, so I just use the native crop tool, and we can see that for each placement, it's made it the right size. So that's, you can still just upload a regular photo if you'd like. And we're going to go to next. Okay. we can just, yeah, we can just leave that and we'll do done. Okay. Now we're going to do the text. So we're going to do the primary text, and I went over to just the free version of ChatGPT, which is chat.openai.com. And I asked it to make me a Facebook post promoting a back to school sale on children's clothes. And this is what it spit out. This isn't nearly as fancy as John's software, but this is what you can spit out with the free version. And as you can see, the minute you say Facebook, it loves the emoji, right? Loves, loves, loves. I don't always recommend using this many emoji, but for the sake of time and for this, let's just grab all of it. Okay. I'm gonna put that there. Oh, and I can't read because I put that in the wrong place. Sorry, folks. We're going to put it all here. Okay, now we see our post. Okay, and because this is a longer post, we're going to require the expand to see more. Now, what did I forget? I forgot my click-through URL. So I'm going to put that in here. Shop online, mystore.com. Whoops. All right. So we've got our post in there. We've got our photo in there. It automatically created the call to action, in this case, learn more, but we can choose shop now here. We can also add in our website. So that's how when you see a post on social media with a little button down here, that's one of the ways that you know it's paid, because it allows you to create this little button. And we don't really need to worry about sort of these things here, you know, languages. If you are using or wanting to translate something into another language and you want to put in your own translation, absolutely do that. When I'm running campaigns, I run a lot of campaigns that have a Spanish language or a Haitian Creole version. Definitely you want to put in your own translation. For right now, we don't need to do that though. And then if I wanted to publish this, we would just click publish. And you've just created an ad that's going to target people within a 25-mile radius of St. Paul, parents of early school age children, with this particular ad about a back to school sale. What do we think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? I can't see anybody. I hope that was good. I hope that was understandable.
Yeah, no, this is great information. Like I said, especially for people who are just starting up and who don't have the budget to hire like an agency, you can do all yourself, and it's even better because you get to learn it yourself too. And you know, you can be creative with your campaigns and measure the success of conversions.
Absolutely. I want to talk about two things before we end and do the larger Q&A, because I want to save time for Q&A. Oh, did I just see some questions come in? Hang on. All right. Yes. So Dina, yes. If you wanted to have a Spanish language version, you could use the language feature. You could also simply make two posts, one in Spanish, one in English, and just do the targeting separately, right? You would do two separate ad sets, right? One Spanish language ad set, one English language ad set, because the targeting lives in the ad set land, where in that ad set you would do all of your language targeting. This can also be used for other demographic groups as well. You can't specifically target by demographics. Those types of targeting options aren't available, but you can create those sort of demographic cohorts by using other interest targeting, like different websites, publications, things like that, so that you can kind of, make those targeting groups. All right, so before we end, I do want to talk about audiences, and I'll show you exactly where to go to find those, to make those custom audiences. So when you are in your ads manager, you can go here to audiences. You can also, if you're back in your business manager, you can go to all tools and audiences, and it will guide you through uploading a customer list, or your email list or whatever it might be. So Facebook can match on a number of different fields. So you can upload, okay, let me see if my brain is still working, because it's almost 9 o'clock where I am. Okay, first name, last name, city, state, zip, phone, and email. So if you've got any combination of those, you can upload it and Facebook can use them to match, to try to create that custom audience. The last thing I mentioned is the pixel. So if you are running paid Facebook or paid LinkedIn or paid or whatever it is, they all have some sort of tracking pixel, and you can create that in your events manager. And that's also going to be in your business suite, underneath all tools. You can go to events manager, and what it's going to do is it's going to prompt you. See, I have 3 different pixels here I have access to. It's going to prompt you to create a pixel, and you can name it, and it's going to give you, very similar to Google Analytics, it's going to give you a little bit of code that you can copy and paste and send over to your web person. If you are using something like Squarespace or something like that, they will have instructions on how to install it and where to install it on your site, so that you'll be able to track traffic from your Facebook campaigns, your paid Facebook campaigns. And you'll also be able to do things like create custom audiences of people who have visited your website. You've got to have the pixel activated in order to do that.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Siri thinks I'm talking to her today. Any questions? I'm looking at the time and I want to leave.
You have 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. And the reason why it's important to track is this, that's how you can manage your return on investment, right? If you're spending X number of dollars for Facebook advertising and you're advertising on Google ads too, you want to be able to measure your conversions, which platform, which type of advertising is more effective for you, right? And then, from these conversions and traffic tracking, you can decide, hey, I'm getting better conversion on Facebook. I'm gonna invest more dollars into my campaign and continue to tweak and fine tune my campaign and run it. So that's why it's important to be able to track. And again, like you mentioned earlier, CC, you need Google Analytics too, so you can track conversions on your website. How many people came back, made a purchase, or how many people fill out the form, the lead form. So those are all ways you can track your conversions.
Yep. Any other questions, thoughts, feelings? I know it's been 2 hours. You guys have really hung in there.
Yeah, a lot of good information here. Like myself, I know some people may have to go back in to look at the video to really be able to build the campaign. So we'll be providing the video and the PowerPoint slides, so you can go back and go through the PowerPoint, the presentation.
And I just remembered I'm going to, John, did you want to talk about the upcoming, do you want me to share my screen again to talk about the upcoming sessions?
Sure.
Yeah, let me
So
share this.
next week, don't forget next week we have another session with CC. And this other session is going to be on social media management, right? That's a little different from social media marketing, because marketing, we're running ads, we're trying to market something, a product or service, where management could be, how do I schedule my posts? How do I create content? When I say scheduling, you could schedule, how do I like automate and schedule posts between all these different platforms, right? Because you want to be active on all these different platforms and not just on Facebook, because then you miss out on visibility on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on all these different platforms. So it's important to try to engage and post on all these platforms, because everything is tied to digital marketing, right? The more you post, it helps with SEO. Google is going to know that you're actively creating content throughout all these different platforms. So everything is tied together. And if you're building your brand or whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's going to impact somewhere or another, and not just focus on one platform. So next week we'll be talking about that. And Cece's going to be back, so it's going to so we're going to have another good turnout with the webinar. And so this is the 4th webinar. Again, we have a couple more webinar next week with CC again. And after that, it's going to be on Google Ads, Bing, and then the last one will be Google Analytics. Maybe we'll go over some CRM stuff, how do you retain and manage your clients, your customer base, database, and whatnot. Anything else to add, CC?
I don't think so. I might come to the Google Analytics one. GA4 is kicking my butt right now.
Yeah, that's the newest thing. If you all haven't converted over to GA4, which is Google, it's a new version of Google Analytics, which is a little different. It's important to convert and transition over to, because the traditional one is not in service anymore.
Yep. Well, thanks everyone for coming and listening to me talk for almost 2 hours. I so appreciate it. I hope to see many of you next week as well. And John, everyone will get the Zoom link that they can share with friends and colleagues for next week.
Yeah, let's go over to your contact information too. So don't forget that that you all can contact us for a one-on-one session. This is CC's information. You guys already have mine, so this is CC's information. And so if you have any questions on setting up Facebook, anything like that, feel free to reach out to her.
Yeah, I'm always happy to give advice, to answer questions, hop on a 15-minute Zoom or something like that, help you figure something out.
Okay.
Right.
That pretty much wraps up our webinar tonight. It's a good one, good stuff, CC. Excited to have you back next week, and thank you all for joining us tonight. You all have a good night, and again, see you all next week.